Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of the planet's hottest entertainment with an edge. Jaime En Fuego here, and I welcome you to my namesake program, Enfuegotainment, for another Rapido Fuego review, Fresca. That is right, because this just came out this past weekend in theaters. We be talking about K-Stu, yes, Kristen Stewart, who made a name for herself with the Twilight films, yeah. But honestly, she has really come into her own as a very versatile actress, and so that's why I wanted to go and check out Spencer.
Mummy!
Family are all gathered in the drawing room. They are waiting.
3 days. That's it.
They're getting quite serious about you. So stand very still and smile a lot. They know everything.
They don't. Mummy, what's happened to make you so sad?
Well, here, in this house, there is no future. The past and the present are the same thing.
Directed by Pablo Larraín, and I wasn't familiar with this dude until I watched Lisey's Story earlier this year on Apple TV+, where every episode was scripted by my beloved Cy King, but every episode was directed by Pablo. And him and his DP did a damn impressive job with that film, and so that was another selling point for me checking this out, because to be fair, I'm not like super intrigued about everything Princess Diana. However, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so yeah, I remember how much of a cultural icon, fashion icon, I mean, she was this big, huge thing in the press and in the tabloids, and I mean, over here in America, that's one thing I could only imagine. I probably can't even fathom, you know, just the absolute fandom and fervor for Princess Di back in the day in the UK and, you know, various parts of Europe. It had to have been huger than it was here, but she was a global icon, and unfortunately, she had a very public parting with her husband, Prince Charles, and they had a couple kids, you know, Harry and William, and so, yeah, I remember very well that it got relatively nasty, and then the worst part of all is the tragic aspect of how Diana passed away. The paparazzi hounded the hell out of her so much, and she was constantly, you know, avoiding them, and they were tailing her, and she got in that car accident, and that was obviously incredibly tragic and sad and horrible, and, you know, taken away from us far too soon. But Kristen Stewart gives a lightning performance. I mean, she is friggin' phenomenal in this, and even though it is a very slow, ruminative, much more surreal, I think, than I was anticipating, and it's also containing just one holiday about 10 years into her marriage, and it's where everything is crumbling and falling apart. She's at the main, I don't know, estate or whatever that they go to for like the holidays, you know, the queen and the entire royal family. And yeah, it's very apparent. Prince Charles has that, what, Lady Camilla or something? I don't know. I know she was also royalty in her own right, but those two went back even before I think he met Diana, if I remember all of the specifics. But nonetheless, it's really about Diana trying to come to terms with the fact that she knows her marriage is ruined. She knows that her husband is having an affair. And yeah, Kristen Stewart has been giving great performances for a while now, whether it was Personal Shopper, even back to the Runaways movie, Adventureland I thought she was good in, and she can do action. She was kick-ass in Underwater, and even though I didn't like the Charlie's Angels movie that Elizabeth Banks directed, I still thought Kristen Stewart was very likable in that. And yeah, she embodies just the tortured, contemplative aspect of Diana at this particular time in her life, and just how isolated she feels. And she's borderline miserable, and it's really sad. And she's showing up late to everything, whether it's the immediately showing up when she's supposed to on Christmas Eve, and then even wanting to blow off dinners and all this other stuff, and just not wanting to be around these people because she feels like such an outcast, and she's so depressed and just disheartened that she doesn't want to be around them. Aside from her two boys, I mean, she wants nothing to do with this royal family, and they kind of bully her around a little bit. There is this gentleman who's former military who was brought to, you know, the estate to kind of keep an eye on her and make sure she's being dressed properly by the handmaidens and all this different stuff, and, you know, showing up on time, or at least relatively so. And yet we get a little bit of Diana's past as well. There's some flashbacks to her childhood, and this estate is actually very close to where she grew up, so it hits her in the feels in that particular regard as well, so that's something to keep in mind. But the most fascinating dichotomy that they do in this film is there's a book that is placed on Diana's bed when she first arrives for the Christmas holiday, and it's none other than about the tragedy of Anne Boleyn. Yeah, Anne Boleyn, that's right, wife of King Henry VIII, who got her head chopped off. And I mean, the only thing that this gets wrong is the fact that she was actually black. And so besides that, it's very interesting in the fact that they choose to have this sort of parallel in the fact that, you know, Anne Boleyn, the reason she was beheaded is because King Henry found a different woman and was cheating on Anne Boleyn, and so yeah, he accused her of infidelity and in turn used that as a justification for slicing her head off. Off with her head! And so, yeah, man, it's very interesting the way Di can almost, like, she finds a little bit of solace and sadness as well in the fact that this Anne Boleyn obviously had a similar sort of sad situation that she had to endure with the betrayal of her partner. It's a very, very well acted film across the board, but it is really Kristen Stewart doing the heavy lifting, and she is phenomenal. I would be utterly shocked if she does not get at least some sort of awards consideration, and that's why they're releasing it in November. We are officially, 'tis the season, you know? It's that time of year when people, studio-wise, are starting to really position themselves for stuff that they want to make a play at, you know, the Academy Awards and, you know, the various other, you know, prestigious institutions and whatnot, but the Oscars obviously being the biggest. And so I would be flabbergasted, completely blown away if Kristen Stewart was not nominated for a lot of these different big awards as we shift into that season properly. And yeah, Spencer was very impressive, a sight to behold, beautifully shot, like just the landscape surrounding the estate, the interior of everything from the, you know, giant rooms to the kitchen. I mean, the layout of these meals, these lavish experiences that everybody is taking part in. It's a very interesting kind of contemplation about not just class, but classism, and how Di is kind of looked down upon. And she even says at one particular point that she feels much more comfortable in like the middle class sort of situation as opposed to this, you know, high society royalty sort of thing. And it's definitely not going to be a film for everybody, but at least for me, as far as well acted, incredibly directed, basically hitting all of the check marks, I'm definitely going to give this 4 out of 5 Fuego Fireballs, despite the fact that I wasn't even like supremely interested in the subject matter, but just from the trailers I knew that this was going to be something special, and it definitely delivered in that regard. So certified Fuego, 4 out of 5. That is my verdict here. So I extend a grande gracias. I've been Jaime En Fuego, the aforementioned. Yeah, you can find me on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on the YouTubies, and the liking, the subscribing, the sharing, all of that different stuff, supremely appreciated as per always. I just yesterday put up a review for Finch, the new Tom Hanks film that is on Apple TV+. And last week when I relaunched Enfuegotainment following a very busy October for the horror show, I also did reviews of Ridley Scott's The Last Duel. I did Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, and also the latest from Marvel Studios, Eternals. So check that out if you feel so inclined, and until next time everybody, when the Reel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos, constant viewers and readers alike, say thank you, hoping we have been well met and that we share more of this palaver sooner rather than later. And until then, if you're feeling up to it, most definitely go out to a theater where you can exclusively see Spencer.